أهلا وسهلا بكم في برنامجنا زي السكر. أنا نرمين هنو، والحقيقة النهاردة أنا متحمسة جدا إن عندنا حلقة مختلفة تماما، وعندنا ضيفة في الحلقة مميزة جدا، وإن شاء الله تتبسطوا بيها وتستمتعوا بالحلقة. ودلوقتي نتعرف عليها أكتر في التقرير اللي هنتفرج عليه مع بعض. Hello.
Cooking, I used to say that cooking is like driving. You know, you put your hands to something and then your mind relax. Of course, you have to give a lot of attention to what you are doing, otherwise your rice will burn or your car, something bad will happen to it. But I love to drive the same way I love to cook. It's something that I can do while my mind rests, and usually at the end of the drive or when I get to the end of my meal, the meal is there, the food is good, and my concerns, I no longer remember them when I finish. So this is very relaxing. Hi, I am Manoilia Franco, the ambassador of Portugal to Egypt. I have been in Cairo for 2.5 years, and this is a real pleasure to be here today talking to you. Before Cairo, I was posted to Prague, the capital of the Czech Republic, which is a very beautiful city. So I am lucky that after first Prague and then Cairo, I am having such enriching experience. I am also lucky in that I am now on my final posting, and I can look back on my career as a very happy career I had, and with some details that make it even more enriching experience. I should say that before Prague, I was in Lisbon, and I was a director of the Diplomatic Institute, and I would be able to talk to you about how Portugal has an embassy in Egypt since 1921, and how this embassy used to be in Cairo and Alexandria, and now we are here in Cairo in this beautiful apartment where the residence of Portugal is, and you can well see from this beautiful reportage. Before coming to Cairo and before in this stretch of diplomatic life of Prague, I was in my career posted to many different places, and in our life we do travel a lot. First I went to New York, and I had the pleasure of being posted to the United Nations as my first posting. This is our life, and sometimes you adapt perfectly, other times it's not so easy. But all in all, I am very lucky with my life because I always adapted. And of course, you learn how moving around from one place to the other, you cannot always be the same person. You have sometimes to use part of your heritage, sometimes you use other parts, but the main objective is to get to know the country where you are sent to, because you are not as a tourist, you are to work, so you need to learn what the society is, what the people want, how they see the world, and you get, of course, enriched by this experience, even if sometimes the views are very different from your own. But as the French say, il faut de tout pour faire un monde, and we, in our career, are really lucky in that we get to know firsthand from different cities and different peoples. I'm also happy to come to Egypt in a moment where you see such a push for women to move forward and do more and act more and choose more according to what they would like to have in their life. It is a very hopeful thing to see. Of course, the diplomatic service has lots of opportunities, but it is also difficult because you take your family around and your children and your spouses, and sometimes it is difficult for them to adapt. Every working mother knows that being a working mother is not easy. Of course, because you want to bring up your children and you want them to have quality time, and you also need, especially when they become, well, when they are small, they need you because they are small, and then when they grow up, they need you because they are growing up, and you don't want to have adolescents with problems at home, so you need to follow very closely. Some women can do both things. In my case, I took time off. When my 3 boys were growing up, I stayed home. My relationship with the food was always a very curiosity, moved by curiosity. I always liked to cook, and I was always somewhat mesmerized by the way the ingredients showed up in the kitchen, and then some things happened to them, and then they would appear in these plates looking beautiful and tasty. You have 3 kids to feed, and of course you want to make them happy with their food, because it's very important that you have a positive food is about love, food is about life, the love of life, very constructive thing that you want to have everybody happy around the table. So I remember that when my kids were growing up, one was vegetarian, the other only ate meat and fish, and the third, it tried everything. So I used to have different food for everyone, because I could never ever think that you are forced to eat something that you don't like. If you are really hungry, you will find something to eat. That was my theory. And this is how, of course, then I kept a good life in my huge kitchen, because all the time there were the kids, there were the friends, there were the family, everybody coming, especially, of course, on weekends. And this is how I developed my cooking skills with a huge happiness around it, and the happiness of just putting on the top of the table something that is beautiful and everybody will love it.
As you have seen from the report today, we have a very special guest with us here, and we are very happy to have her, Her Excellency, the Ambassador of Portugal, Manoilia Franco. Welcome. We're so happy. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to be here with you and share these precious moments. I'm really happy to be with you, Nermeen.
Thank you very much. We're honored to have you here on the show. Thank you. We'd like to begin with the similarities between our cuisines and our people, and especially with the idea of hospitality. As you said in your report, you talked about the Egyptian hospitality and how you feel warmth about it. And we found the same thing in one of the songs from, someone who is considered to be like Kulthum to you, as and if you would kindly share some of the words of that song and what kind of hospitality it presents.
This is beautiful words from this song, which is called Portuguese House, Uma Casa Portuguesa, and where our greatest fado singer, Amália, sings about that if you knock on the door, immediately the door opens for you and you will come in, find a table, sit down, and you can break bread with your hosts that will welcome you. And so this is also, you see the house from the distance and you get into the door, and this is very much something in common, because you find it in Egypt. I've been very well received everywhere I go in Egypt, and in Portugal you also hear the same, in that the Portuguese are also very open to foreigners and curious and like to exchange stories and sit down. And so this is, I think, a very common trait. And for me, surely in Egypt has been a lovely surprise.
Wonderful, thank you. And we'd also like to talk about some of the similarities when it comes to ingredients or the kinds of dishes that you have on your table.
Yes, we have a lot of similarities in that what is called Mediterranean diet or food, and we also have a lot of even words from Arabic. If I tell you that we call azait, can you guess what that is? Or azeitona?
Yeah.
We call zaitun, and a lot of the coriander that we will see later today, cooking the herbs, the almonds, the figs. There is some difference in that of emphasis, because of course Portugal is connected to the Mediterranean, but it is a country with huge ocean border. We have 800 kilometers of ocean and in quite a narrow strip. And we are also only 10 million, so it is like we are like a part of Cairo with 800 kilometers on the ocean. Yeah. And this of course has a big influence on what we eat, because the fish and what you get from the sea is always ever present in the Portuguese diet, the way the people eat. And also it is very connected with the fact that across history, Portuguese have been everywhere in the world, so they've brought back a lot, but also they're used to very simple things. So this is also comparable to the way we eat in Egypt, in that ingredients are little transformed, even if sometimes they cook a long time in the pot, but the number of steps between the raw ingredient and what you get on your plate is very simple.
Yeah, and one of the ingredients you have in Portugal, which is considered a national ingredient, or that you have more than 1,000 dishes made out of, is bacalhau. And my parents and grandparents tell me that we had this in Alexandria, and many people, knew of it. It was available everywhere. Not anymore, but this is something that we also share.
It's like bacalhau is like they call it the loyal friend. Yeah. And every Portuguese home will like to eat this codfish. But this is also connected with the fact that this fish was salted. We don't eat it fresh.
Yes.
That you don't have it available fresh. Yeah. You only have that. Ever since the 15th century, people would go on boats to the North Sea, to Iceland, to Norway, to this Greenland, and
Newfoundland.
They would spend 6 months there. Fishing and salting the fish, and then the fish would be everywhere, because of course this was when there were no refrigerators.
But so also to be sent as food for the sailors on the boats, so it would stay long distances.
So the process is that we cook it, whichever one of the 1,000 and recipes that you can cook codfish, they all start by you have to soak it. And of course this also goes a long way to feed people, because you will use the lower quality parts to cook rice, to cook in many ways with a very small amount of this codfish, with a huge amount of potatoes, will go a long way to feed a large family.
Definitely.
So that, but if you buy from the more noble parts, which is the big fillet, then sometimes you have to soak it for 48 hours and change the water all the time, because it is also very smelly.
Great. And now we're going to go to her home and see the food on her table, which we will see in this report.
It is really a pleasure to be able to present all these ingredients that are so common, almost all, so common to the Egyptian ones. All of these except the codfish at the center can be found, and actually has been found in Cairo, in the markets, in the normal places. We in Portugal, the thing we eat most from north to south is bread. Bread is in every Portuguese table from morning to night, every day. We then move to fish, which is the thing that we eat also, I think, the people that eat, one of the peoples that eat most fish in the world. However, today I present you the codfish, which is a salted fish, very different from the fresh fish that we have here with the octopus salad, because for ages there was no refrigerator, and so we needed to have salted cod on our tables. It was for the poor people, it was for the rich people, it was a way to have fish all year round. It is not available in Egypt, but we maybe can bring it over because you also have experience of salted fish. The other items that we have on our table are beans, Nubia beans, but we also called it black-eyed peas. And we have them, we eat them with tuna, and we eat them with boiled egg. This is also on every Portuguese table most of the time. We also have very nice meat patties and again fish patties, and all goes with the beautiful pepperoni, red pepper, yellow pepper, call it the way you want. We call it pimento, and we grill it and we take the peel off, and this is how you eat them every summer with the famous sardines. The other items we have here that are very attractive to us are the tomato salad. You will find the tomato salad in every Portuguese table, also morning, noon and night. Potato salad as well, and the green bean salad, which is something that we eat also all the time, together with the octopus salad, which is also something that the Portuguese love to have. All this brings me back to the theme of the Mediterranean food and the food that we eat with very much the same characteristics. And what is it, the Mediterranean diet, the Mediterranean food? It is a food that is fresh, that is taken from the simplest ingredients. It leaves off the quality of the ingredients, the quality of the vegetables that are grown under the sunshine, so they have lots of sugar and lots of taste in it, the quality of the herbs, the quality of the fish and of the meat, and of little transformed food. Food that we bring to the table and that we cook in the simple manner and leaves off its qualities. So this is like a tameia, but with fish. We call it in Portuguese patanisca de bacalhau. And it is done with a little bit of flour and fish and parsley and onion and pressed and fried. This is like maybe kofta, but it is also, it goes in a batter with egg and breadcrumbs, and then it is fried. It started as a way to use rests of meat, and then it became a national dish that everybody loves from 7 years to 77 years of age. This codfish is, of course, this salted fish that has some preparation to it, because it will last all year long. Salted. It is said in Portugal that there is over 1,000 recipes to cook this codfish. And this, in this case, we have it with potatoes and onions and bechamel, and always parsley, of course, inside. And then it goes to the oven and it is baked Because it is somewhat softened by the bechamel and by the mix with the potatoes, so that it is also something that is very loved in Portugal, even though it is called the truest of friends. It is called o fiel amigo. The friend that is always there for you is the name of this fish in Portugal. The Thermos is called in Portuguese Thermos, and I guess it went from Egypt. We eat it just like that. In Portugal, you don't cook it, you don't season it, just it's eaten in every cafe you go in the afternoon, you have it with beer. It's something that is totally national. Okay, so this is the basic ingredients that we will have in Portugal. Even if you don't have any possibilities of having, say, a richer menu, what we eat is bread with olives and olive oil. This is in every Portuguese home from north to south. The bread is also something that we use with sourdough, preferably. Of course, there is lots of industrial bread that looks very good, but the real bread that tastes good and that will grow old with grace is a bread that has been leavened and that's been kneaded with sourdough. But these are ingredients that you will always have typical of our own homegrown cuisine since forever. One is the oregano, which is grows wild on the very sunny and without water. It is a wild bush. It is, if it is water, then you try to grow it in your in a pot. You will still grow it, and maybe you can do pesto, but it will never have the same concentration of flavor like this one has. And of course, the chilies that are essential to our cooking because we like it hot. We have here one of the most typical Portuguese desserts that is called lard from heaven. And these cakes are very, very typical of Portugal, which are cakes that are done with eggs, sugar, eggs and sugar, sugar and eggs, and then sometimes they get almond or walnut or hazelnut, some nuts. And so this is one such cake that it does not take any, almost no flour, maybe a spoon. This is the now world famous nata. It is eaten in Portugal. People usually eat it mid-morning or mid-afternoon with coffee. And this is just a puff pastry that gets custard with milk and eggs. But the secret is that it has to go into an oven that takes you to 350 centigrades. Otherwise, it does not get the caramel top, and it will look like just any cheese, sweet cheese tart.
I hope you enjoyed the report, and now we're going to go to the ambassador of Portugal and start cooking the first dish. Please tell us about it.
Okay, so I will be cooking a very typical dish of Portugal, which is fish rice. we also eat rice with everything, vegetables, meat, seafood, simple, just with garlic. But fish rice is one of the very typical ways or very typical dishes that you eat in Portugal. And of course that we have it prepared here so that there is also an example of if you have a large family and you still want to eat fish, which these days and always was an expensive thing, but you can go a long way because you will use the bones to give taste to your dish. And of course that then all across the board you can use different fish from different qualities and different prices, but you can still end up with a very tasty and very nice dish. So
yes, I think this is very similar to our Egyptian sayadiyya. I don't know if you tried it or not, but
I have not tried it. I must try it. Yes. I've tried the wonderful fish in Alexandria, sitting in alongside the bay, but more like grilled than the sayadiyya, but I hope I will try it.
Okay, please.
So this we have water here, and we will start by boiling the fish, so that we get the water, the broth that will then cook the rice. So we use 1 onion, we use some peppercorns, salt, of course, sea salt. We will place the fish. This is the bone.
Yes.
This is the head. We place it in cold water and we let it boil. We will also use the fillet, but we put it later because otherwise it gets overcooked.
Definitely.
And it is important that the bones cook long time, so that they, the 5 minutes, but that they give you the taste to the water, but the fillet, if it cooks for too long, it will be not nice. And we will also put just a little bit of olive oil just to soften the water, because this fish will have enough fat in this cooking. While this will cook, we will start the rice, and the rice will be done in 2 different steps. Okay. We start with the base while we wait for the water.
Okay.
And so this base, what we will do is we start by putting the olive oil, which is a very typical basis for many dishes, which you start with a little bit olive oil and onion and some vegetables, and you cook them on a somewhat low temperature so that they don't get burnt or too cooked, because they will need to give their flavors and their juices to last with.
This is one of the differences then, because when we do sayadiyya, we actually brown the onions. So the rice takes this brown color. So that's
We will also have this in Portugal if you are doing like duck rice.
Okay.
Or meat rice. But for the fish, you don't do this, because otherwise the flavor of the onion would overpower the fish. Of course, that if you move forward with like seafood, if you put shrimps in it, which you can also do, but then the taste of the shrimp is much stronger than the taste of the white fish, and so we can do all together, but we don't. There is even the seafood rice where you put everything in it, but that of course is already much higher end kind of dish, and this is not what we're looking to do here today. So we will use this onion. Ooh. I think you can use it all. Onion is never too much in your rice. And we will also add green pepper and the yellow pepper. Both for taste and for color, because your rice also has to look good on the plate. Not just tasty, but also beautiful looking if possible. You
use a lot of chili in other recipes.
We use a lot of chili.
Yes, that came from Africa, right? The peri peri.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We use it also in shrimps, but
Yeah.
in the big shrimps that those big shrimps that you can slice in half, and you do with the piri piri sauce.
Yeah, you also have the famous chicken peri peri.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Whenever you, even in all these shops that sell grilled chicken, you always have the option in Portugal to get with piri piri sauce or without.
Without, yeah.
We like our food
Spicy.
seasoned and spicy. Of course, because the Portuguese, they traveled all over the world in the 15th century, and they brought back all these spices.
Yes.
So somehow, without being immodest, but we can say that we started with fusion cooking.
Fusion cooking, yeah.
And many Portuguese will think that like curry is a national dish made in Portugal. Of course, we learned it from India, and like the piri piri, we learned from Africa, and the desserts, they also include lots of Arabic techniques with the sugar syrup, with this sort of pastry dough, which is like the baklava, or this very thin, that is also very used. So just to give you an idea that things come one way and they go another way. And the food, of course, travels with people, because they miss this, they miss that, then they bring the recipe, then they try. Now I'm adding the tomato to the basis of this rice. Maybe I can put a little bit more.
Okay, it worked. Okay,
it is working. And now I will add this fish to this water. We will use a tiny bit of garlic here. We will need it. Also, we use a little bit of laurel, but not too much, not to overpower the fish. It is very important that we don't leave the fish too long in the water, especially the fillet, because otherwise it gets spongy and sort of not so soft.
Can we talk some more about other influences that the Portuguese took to other countries? Like, for example, let's talk about Japan, for example. I think tempura originated in Portugal.
Tempura originated in Portugal, and also some other things.
Yes, also the Japanese cake, the wobbly
castella.
cake. Yes,
they
exactly.
call castella to
Pão de
sponge
castella,
cake, which we call pão de ló.
Yeah.
The tempura, we use it, of course, to this day, but this was used to, mainly we use with green beans, which we call fish from the garden. In the literal translation, we call peixinho da horta.
Okay, yeah.
And this is a very light batter that you do, and then you boil your green beans, and once they're boiled and al dente, you put them in this very light batter, and you just fry them. Yeah. But we also do with orange pumpkin, this autumn pumpkin. We will also do like the green beans.
Okay.
Like tempura is exactly the same.
You can do it with anything,
There is two schools of why tempura is called tempura.
Okay.
One is that it might come from the Portuguese tempero, which is seasoning.
Seasoning.
Or it might come from the Jesuits praying in this time of the afternoon. They would call tempura.
Okay.
But that they would eat vegetables on Fridays, which is a day that traditionally the Christians don't eat meat. I need to put some more olive oil here. Yes. Just let me add the rice.
Okay.
This rice needs to also fry a little bit here. Okay. It should also get some salt itself. Of course, that we will have to correct all this at the end.
Of course.
This seasoning. Now we will maybe we don't need this.
I think Portuguese was also one of the first countries to start to can fish. Your canned sardines are considered to be something of a, a great. So talk to us about this canning.
Yes, this
that you
canning
started.
has been traditional.
Yeah.
And of course, we have a very good rapport with canned fish.
Yeah.
We have very good rapport with fish, and canned also
fish.
good.
Yeah. It is considered again to be better with age. I mean, the longer it is in the tin, the better it sort of ages.
We have a huge variety of canned fish.
Okay.
And you have, since from the tuna that is canned in brine.
Yeah.
And that will be all made of small pieces that you can use if you want to do like a tuna spread. Mm-hmm. You are not going to buy the fillet.
Yeah.
But in the tuna department, you have everything from the small pieces to the fillet to even a better thing, which is the fillet near the belly.
Yes.
And then you have the fillet near this and that. You have the livers. Mm-hmm. You have the sardine livers, which are extremely expensive because, of course, it's
tiny.
Yes. You have the anchovies,
Yeah.
you have this, but you also have... there is in Portugal something that is, say, cousin to the sardine,
Okay.
and which is the mackerel.
Yes, of course.
And of course, the mackerel is less fat, and many people prefer it to the sardine.
Yeah.
And you get huge variety of mackerel because you can can it from this size, and then you also have it whole, just grilled, with some sauce.
Yeah, yeah.
And this here is almost so that you will also have seasoned in the cans.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can get calamari. You can get the octopus. In some cases, cooked with tomato sauce with piri piri. You get or just with lemon, or so you have. And now, for the past maybe 10 to 15 years, there's a very strong fashion in Portugal launched by some chef, which is called Can the Can. And this means a full range of cooking, sometimes high-end recipes made out of cans.
Can you tell us at what stage the recipe is at right now?
So right now we are going to take this fish out.
Okay. Let me get you a clean dish for the cooked
This
fish.
is okay because we have to, now we have to prepare this for later. Mm-hmm. This we will also maybe we can show that we will also extract this flesh from the fish. And now we will need to filter this water.
Sure. Yes.
Here we have this, and we have this. We'll see about this, if we need it or not.
Okay.
So at this stage we have a rice that is already fried with the vegetables and the olive oil and the onion and some little bit of salt, which is here. And now we will put the water to the rice, the water of cooking the fish.
The fish broth, yes.
Of course, that frying the rice in this way helps it to give its starch, so that we don't use it all at once. We save, because this fish rice is something in between a regular rice and a risotto.
Okay.
When we do fish rice or octopus rice, even somewhat seafood rice, but less mainly fish and octopus. We do a rice that we call in Portuguese the naughty rice, arroz malandro.
Okay.
Meaning that it gets a lot of cooking liquid. It is not a dry rice. And you also use it with merely tomato rice. You do the same.
Okay.
You in restaurants that are good, they will bring you the tomato rice in a clay pot with a cover, and you only see water. And as you eat it, it continues to absorb. But it always this family of rices always is with the sauce that does not let the grain by grain, like if you were eating white rice or any other rice.
Okay. Now we're going to take a break until the rice cooks, and then we come back and complete the rice dish. Welcome back, and now we continue the fish rice recipe with Her Excellency, the Ambassador of Portugal.
Okay.
So what do we do now?
What we do now is that now we have the rice is almost cooked. As I said, this rice always has some liquid from the sauce in it. It is not a dry rice.
Okay.
And now we add the fish. The fish is barely cooked. Okay. Now we got rid of the bones, we got rid of the skin, of all that contributed to have this broth thick and full of flavor. And now we have this fish, and this fish is not yet 100% cooked.
Okay.
It is half raw. If we would see inside, it is still pink. And we now add it to the rice. It will give more flavor to the rice, and it will get also the taste from the vegetables that we have in this rice. And so this will be like the next, say, 5 minutes more cooking. So just to finish this rice, we still have to add a little bit more of the broth here, because otherwise, while the fish cooks, it would get dry. It would get like a normal rice, but it wouldn't be good because it is not prepared to be a normal rice. It is prepared to be a rice that has sauce in it. So we need to add, to make sure that it stays with the sauce, because the rice, as it cooks, it gets very greedy, and it takes all the water in, and then it gets gluey. We need to make sure that it does not get gluey, and we will add some pepper now. And we let it cook.
With regards to seafood, I've also discovered that you eat things that we love to eat here in Egypt too, which is sea urchin.
Yes, sea urchin is a delicacy. Are you eat? I have never seen it in the Red Sea.
No, actually in the Mediterranean. Yes. When I was young, I used to go fishing with my father and just take it off of the rocks and slice it, and eat lemon, a little bit of salt, and just eat it right there.
Okay, so
now we're going to start a different recipe. Could you tell us the name of the recipe and when you eat it, or how you eat it? Or
this will be something that we eat together with the rice. We will put it all on the table at the same time.
Okay.
Even though all this can be used separately as a dish, we will do the coriander pesto, which we will use on the toasted bread.
Yes, and the toasted bread is in the oven. Here. It's in the oven. It's toasting. It just needs a couple more minutes.
And this coriander pesto is something that you can also then spoon into a salad, or dissolve with more olive oil and do some sort of with more lemon juice, vinaigrette for some lettuce. It has different purposes, and you can also keep it in the refrigerator if you close it properly with some olive oil on top. You can keep it 3, 4, 5 days in the refrigerator.
Yeah. Do you dip bread also?
Yes, you dip bread
in olive oil.
Yes.
Also, olive oil is something that is
sacred,
much loved. Yes,
olive oil is sacred. I think I need here a spoon. So this is garlic that is already prepared, but if you do it whole, it will not be a problem.
Is this toasted enough for you, or do you like
It is
some
perfect.
more?
It is
Okay.
perfect. And we will put this in. This is the coriander. Which
You
is,
use a lot of coriander.
We use coriander morning, noon, and night. In the south of the country. In the north, where it's colder, there is no coriander.
Oh, okay.
But in the south, and this is something that you left us in the Iberian Peninsula, but I think that in Portugal, more than this should be enough for this portion.
And what do you call it? You call it cuspara as well? Is it
Coentro.
coentro? Okay,
More
like
coriander.
cilantro. Yeah,
More
like,
cilantro.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
So salt, garlic, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, a little bit of lemon juice, but just a tiny, tiny bit.
Okay.
And good. So now we need to have, it's good. And then we add olive oil. I don't like to add olive oil. I prefer to add olive oil later.
Okay.
This I think we also don't need. Okay, so this is the basis. But we will add a little bit more olive oil to make it a little bit more liquid,
Okay.
so that we can then spread it on the bread.
Okay.
In
So
a
it's
better way?
not it's not as how shall I put it, as velvety as the pesto. It still has pieces of the coriander in it. You can still see it. It's a bit
Yes,
more
because
rustic.
of course, but the nature of the coriander is much softer than the nature of the Basilikum or Rihanna.
Okay,
No,
yeah.
It's much more aggressive
Yeah.
Herb.
Okay.
The coriander is somewhat sweet, even though some people don't like it, but it is not. Even if you compare with the parsley, it's much less. It has much less. I don't know what is the substance, but it is somewhat softer.
Okay.
Uh,
So it
in
doesn't
that-
need to be ground up
Doesn't
much.
need,
Yeah.
but-
Okay.
Of course, you could add to it almonds, but it is done also, but not for this purpose, because it would become much more elaborate taste that is not maybe too much with what we are eating today.
Okay.
And finally, this is tomato sauce, which is something between a raw tomato sauce, I should say, something between a sauce and a salad.
Okay.
But this is something that you will serve with a spoon, but you can also, it is very good with the rice that we are having. It will cut the somewhat fatty nature of the rice and the fish, and you will put this, and this is extremely easy to do, which is also something always good.
Yeah.
So it is important to take the seeds out. And then we just do this.
And here we have some that is ready
We
for
did
you.
some homework, so
Yes.
it is already done. And this is the way it looks.
Okay.
And this is
Maybe this is a little.
the full. And this is something that you just do with a tiny bit of lemon juice, pepper, some olive oil. Now, salt only exactly before serving.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it gets
It'll be
very
a soup.
watery
Yes.
and it becomes like a soup, but we'll be serving soon. Of course, this goes with taste, no? But there is an additional thing, which is on this you can also improve or add, like you can add a little bit of garlic if you want. You can add coriander if you want. You can add parsley, and according to how sweet or tart you want your side tomato raw salad to taste.
Okay.
So that today we are doing coriander because it's so connected with our Mediterranean and our
Yes, especially that there is fish.
Arab
We
traditions.
Also, we also use a lot of coriander.
I
with the
chose
fish.
to do coriander. So this is ready, and it's very simple, and I am sure that whoever tastes it will love it.
Great. And now we're going to go for a break until the fish rice is ready, and then we'll come back and we will serve everything and show you how it is. Welcome back, and now we have everything ready. We just need to serve.
So we start by doing the
Bruschetta.
bruschetta, coriander bruschetta.
Coriander bruschetta. I would like to taste that.
Oops. I need to clean a little bit.
Can you tell us about the different kinds of bread in Portugal?
This is a typical bread that you have in Portugal. Bread is extremely important.
Is it sourdough or is it?
Well, it is sourdough. It used to be sourdough, of course. That now there's all sorts of industrial breads that are not good.
Yeah.
But people eat them because they're available, and that's what many times you get in supermarkets. But even that, even supermarkets, many have a bakery. This does not need to be touched. And now we will serve the rice. So we have different, according to the north and south of Portugal, have very different climates.
Yes.
Because
I think the cuisine is also very different from the north to the south.
It is very different because we have so many microclimates because of the geography, the presence of the ocean, but also the rocks.
Yeah.
Because we are the end of the meseta that comes from Spain. So that you have the mountains are going slowly to the sea.
Yeah.
And because of the many rivers, there are very different microclimates, so that in certain places you have fabulous cherries and others don't even know what it is. This sort of situation, and this affects, of course, the cereal and the type of food.
Yeah.
So that the very heavy soups and the bread done with rye and corn flour, this will be found in the north.
Yeah, the north you also have a lot of legumes, I think, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the cabbage, we have huge
cabbage.
varieties of kale and cabbage that are all eaten. So this is more one part of the country, more to the north, where it's colder and more mountains and lots of rain and lots of green. And then you, from the center to the south, you have big plains with wheat and cereal, and there you have this type of bread. But whichever type of bread, one thing is sure, you will be eating bread morning, noon, and night in Portugal. So I'm going to pour this rice. I hope I am not.
Wow, that looks really delicious.
Okay.
And as it sits in the plate, it keeps absorbing the juice.
It will, but this juice will be absorbed by the rice while it waits.
If I may taste, I'd love to taste. Would you like to taste too? Yeah. It really is good. It's nice, it's lemony. The vegetables impart a great taste to the broth. The rice is perfectly cooked. The fish is perfectly cooked. It's very flaky. Oh, I really like this. It's a really nice dish. And again, can you tell us the name in Portuguese?
Arroz de peixe.
Okay.
And of course,
That's difficult to say.
it will continue to absorb. So it has to be served somewhat immediately, and then you use the tomato to cut the taste and to freshen up your dish.
But it really is fresh already. I mean, the lemon really gives it a very nice taste. I'd love to taste that salad as well. Very fresh. It reminds me of I think a Saudi dish which is called dugus. But they add onions and garlic.
Raw?
Yes, raw, to the raw tomatoes.
Ah.
Yeah, so this reminds me very much of dugus. Yeah, really nice. Wow. Now this, I'm really looking forward to eating this. I'll cut a piece. Would you like to taste a piece? This is so fresh. I can eat a meal with this alone.
I usually do.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's really fresh,
This is a summer menu.
lemony, and the olive oil. You can taste the oil and the lemon and the coriander. It's really great.
This is a very typical summer menu
Yeah, lovely.
that you can have.
Yeah,
Some things that are raw and that are not cooked, and they will
Yeah.
be cold.
that's wonderful. And you also eat different cheeses and different charcuterie, which you're very well
Yes.
known for. Also, your sausages.
We have a very interesting range of cheese,
Yeah.
which is sheep milk, mostly
Yeah.
in Portugal. We also have from very good cow milk from the middle of the Atlantic, the Azores Island.
Yeah.
They produce this cheddar that is of the family of like Parmesan, like sort of big cow milk.
No.
But in Portugal, the speciality is sheep milk. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, this was all amazing. Excellent rice, excellent salad, and the bruschetta was also amazing. So now we will go out for a report, and then we will be back with Her Excellency.
I have been in Egypt for 2 years now, a little bit more, and I've had my hands full in going around the country and trying to get to know the people, the cities, and the different regions. And of course, you know all that it is a big country, so I still have a lot to see. But of what I've seen, I must say that it is beautiful and very touching. To me, my favorite places in Egypt are quite different. One is Luxor, which I absolutely love, and am very touched and moved by the places, the ancient Egypt monuments there. And the other place is at the opposite end is Wadi Hitan, which is also a place that I find magic. As you walk there and you feel that you are in what was the bottom of a sea. Cairo is a wonderful city. So many times on the weekend, instead of going out, I prefer to stay in and get to know a little bit more, because coming from a country that is half the size of Cairo, I always feel that I have a lot of territory to cover and a lot of places in and around the city. And I normally say that whenever you discover a little layer like an onion in Cairo, you find another one and you see how much more there is there to see and to learn about this city. The other thing that I absolutely love about Egypt is the people, of course. The people are so generous and so dignified and always ready to listen to you and open up and invite you to their home and to their places. and allow me to say that this is not normal. It's not everywhere or every country that you go that you find people that are so generous and so their arms wide open to meeting you and guiding you, and so this is really beautiful about Egypt. Egyptian food is very cosmopolitan food. You talk about how do you like Egyptian food? I like Egyptian food because I love to go out and eat from the street. I eat tamaya and ful and from the street, and other specialities that are very, very local. Of course, I like bread because I love bread. Coming from a country where bread is so important, Egyptian bread is delicious bread. My favorite Egyptian food is, I must say, keshk. It's absolutely delicious food when it is properly done. It's so light and so subtle, and at the same time you can taste all the flavors in it. And so the prize for me goes to keshk. Second favorite Egyptian food for me is tamaya. Koshari, I like it once in a while, but it's very strong. So I taste it and I like the taste, but it's like third prize.
Your Excellency, thank you so much for being with us. We really enjoyed the dishes that you showed us, and we really enjoyed all the information about Portugal that you gave us, and it was really a pleasure and an honor to have you here on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to show you a plain family meal from Portugal. I hope that our viewers will enjoy it. They can try it at home. It's not so difficult.
Yes, I'm sure they will.
And maybe some inspiration and maybe also some curiosity more about how we eat at the other end of the Mediterranean.
Thank you very much. And of course, you're always invited to come back on the show. We'd love to see you again. Thank you.
Thank you.
وبكده نكون خلصنا حلقة النهاردة، حلقة مميزة مع شخصية مميزة جدا، سفيرة البرتغال في مصر مانويلا فرانكو. يعني احنا شاكرين جدا ليها ان هي جت معانا النهارده وورتنا اطباق من البرتغال. يا رب الحلقة تكون عجبتكم، واشوفكم في حلقات تانية على خيرة الله ان شاء الله.